guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on some boxwood trimming, the latest in the season I think I've ever done this project, but we had a cold front move in yesterday. It was pretty windy. Today's high is 73, 74, tomorrow's high is like 65, and then the next 10 days it looks like low 70s, then a little bit in the mid 70s. I mean, it just like slowly climbs into the low 80s. So I think this might be my last opportunity to get these shorn. Now I did a little bit of boxwood trimming on the other side of the house. If we have time, I do want to go back over there and trim those up again a little bit. But up here, I think is the area that needs it the most. And we have 3 different varieties of boxwood. So first off, we have the Green Mountain cones, which I do not think I'm going to prune today because they're not looking too woolly. I mean, you can definitely see the soft new growth, but I think I'd rather keep them like this and not tromp around in the annual planted area and on the fresh mulch. I think they look fine and we can wait on those. The other 2 varieties, we've got Winter Gems, which form the half circle all the way around this area. And then we've got Sprinters right around this urn. I've just been recently talking about my experience with these Sprinter boxwoods right here and on the other side of the house, in that they seem to have a little bit of a different growth pattern or habit than like the Winter Gems. Winter Gems seem to form a really strong network of branches, and these just haven't done that for me, and I'm pruning them the same way. When I trim one variety, I'm usually trimming the other one right alongside it. So I don't know, I think today I'm gonna take these down really hard. The only time I skipped trimming these was the year that they sustained a bunch of spider mite damage, and you can still see it. If you look down in here, you can see how white the leaves are. That's all spider mite damage. Now they don't have spider mites right now, but once they get the mite damage, it doesn't repair on the leaves that show it. You know, the new growth, of course, looks really nice, and that's the bummer about it. So that one season, I did not trim them very much. I still trimmed them, but not a ton, because I didn't want to expose a bunch of that. But I think the only way I can save these boxwoods, see how they're just wanting to flop over, and they did this when we got rain. It wasn't even like a heavy snow. Look at this. I think the only way I can do it is if I just take them down hard, which I have to admit I'm a little scared to do. Aaron and I were talking about it, and he just said, I think that's our last resort. I think you take them down hard. Hopefully that kind of rejuvenates them. They'll push new growth and maybe thicken up. But it seems like they tend to want to send up branches from the bottom in more of a, they're just a lot more flexible than, you know, creating a bunch of lateral growth. That's just been my experience. And now I know every area is a little bit different. And we all are dealing with different things. You know, some of you guys have the boxwood blight and the caterpillars. Is it like a, they call it a box moth? We don't have those. We deal with spider mites and then, you know, any kind of precipitation like heavy rain or heavy snow load. Typically with heavy snow loads, we come up with a broom and knock all that snow off, which I've done on all the boxwoods. But when we had a couple of rainstorms last week, I mean, they were like hours and hours of pouring rain. These just were flat. It was kind of, oh, but the Winter Gems over here just stayed looking the same. They looked wet, but they still had this nice kind of strong network of branching. They also sustained spider mite damage, but not nearly as bad. I mean, if you get down in there, you can see a little speckling, but they didn't show all the white kind of damage. So I don't know. Either way, I think it's going to be nice to have these kind of shorn up and tidier looking for the rest of the season instead of waiting. I was just kind of resigned to the fact that it was going to be too warm and that I'd have to wait till late summer, early fall. Once the, you know, the summer heat starts to wane a little bit and the nights are cooler and the days are getting shorter and that sort of thing, then it kind of opens up our window again for a short time to get it done. It's going to look really good to take off a few inches here. And this is what I'm using to shear them up. I've been using the DeWalt. It's like a 22 inch blade hedge trimmer for a lot of years, but you can see that this one is brand new. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to use it. We still have our other hedge trimmer, but we need to pay some attention to that one. It works really well for perennial cutback, and I think we're going to keep that one for more heavy duty jobs where, you know, you can just kind of put the blade through its paces, and then keep this one for boxwood trimming only. I think that will be really nice to have a pair for just that. Anyway, guys, that's just kind of the order of the day. I'm going to try to get as much of this done as I can. I'm not going to do a super fussy job. I'm not going to be measuring anything or setting any strings. I'm just going to try to tidy them up a bit. And then if we have time, I would love to head over to the west side and tighten those up a little bit as well. Anyway, here we go. it is a new day. I worked on this project into the evening and then meant to finish up yesterday. It rained for most of the day and we even got a bunch of hail. I mean, it was pretty intense there for a little while and I was really worried that we were gonna have damage on our hostas, and I inspected everything pretty closely and everything looks good, so I'm thankful for that. Douglas, it makes me nervous with you around my feet. He's a wild card. Like, he really wants to be loving, but then he'll all of a sudden just attack. Hey, bud. So we'll move real slow. You want pets? Yeah, there we go. Stay up by the head. Don't do anything too suddenly. Ah! Anyway, I'm really pleased with how everything looks. Paul actually came through. There was a little break in the rainstorms yesterday and he cleaned up the majority of all the clippings in here, which I'm so thankful for. When you're hedging, you almost want to do it twice. You want to go through and do your major hedge job, major prune job, and then, you know, when you're cleaning the clippings, especially off the top of the hedge, it releases branches that were maybe stuck down, like laying down in there that you didn't cut the first time. So I really could go through and do a second job on this, but I really want to make it over to the west side and do a little bit of tightening on the hedge over there before it warms up. Today's high is in the low 70s, and then we've got 2 more days of that, and then it pops up into the 80s and then close to 90. So I really want to not spend too much time on it. But I am just thrilled. I mean, look at that over there. It looks so tidy and sharp. Looking over this is major to me. Looking over to the Hartley area where, you know, we still have some work to do in the flower beds and all of that, but that's gonna be, you know, it is a formal area. And to look through really woolly hedges that are kind of unkept looking, I don't like that. This does something for me, having the nice sharp hedges framing that area. Now, this is looking a little rough. Okay, I'm gonna move now. No attacking me. Hey, hey, geez Louise. Douglas. That cat, I do not know what to do with him. Anyway, I think these are gonna recover. I could probably take a little bit more, and I almost waited until this evening to show you these when they're in the shade. Maybe I'll come back out and do a PS tonight because I think you can see the detail a little bit better and they look a little less harsh when they're shaded. Don't come near me and my feet while I'm walking and I can't watch you. Good. Okay, look at that. The thing that amazes me the most is that these were so wide that they were pushing on the Russian sage. Like, these were laying on the Russian sage in here, and you can kind of see that. So that much was removed in here, and that much more was removed on the outside as well. It was a very satisfying thing to do, to be completely honest. When you're hauling off into something knowing that it's either this or digging them out completely and replacing them, it's a freeing thing. It's like, well, I can just mess them up as much as I need to here, and then we may end up digging them out. But I was pleasantly surprised. I got down to more structure, and the reason I didn't take them down further is I was cutting into some pretty thick branches at the point where I stopped. So we'll watch them. I'm gonna do some plant tone fertilizer today. Anyway, I plan on hedging them again this year, so early fall, and maybe even taking them a little bit deeper. So it might be, you know, a season or 2 recovery for these, but I think they're gonna do it. And the thing that pleased me the most when I was getting into this is that, you know, you can see why I didn't want to prune really hard that one year. You can see all the white that I exposed, but look at all of the dark green leafy that's also on the interior of these shrubs. Don't do that, Douglas, my goodness. Like, see that right there? There's a little hole and you can see all of the spider mite damage. But you know what? I think maybe exposing it, giving it some air, it might do some wonders for this hedge. It's looking a little like lumpy on the top as well. And no matter how hard I tried, I just, you know, you run into a spot where it's actually branched thicker, like right in here. And it's really hard to get it flat with the rest of everything. So anyway, this is a rejuvenation prune for this. Uh-oh, oh no. You boys be nice. Look at that. Slowly. Hey Russell, come here buddy. And taking a closer look here. Oh, doesn't it look so nice? I just love it, and they're so fresh looking and beautiful. Are those brand new hedge shears having the really sharp blades, I think really was helpful. This is another fairly interesting area here. I hedged about to this point here, and then we've got so much growth over the top of the boxes here that they kind of struggle to keep up. They're healthy. They're putting on new growth. They're just doing it slower. I think one, because the plants are probably, you know, taking nutrients and water and all that business that these would utilize to grow faster, but also they don't get as much light, clearly. So I kind of just like tapered off a little bit and didn't really prune much at all, just the sides right here. Oh, I love seeing it like this though, you guys. And from a distance, if you just give those the side eye, they look pretty nice. Overall, very pleased with this project. I'm gonna grab the plant tone. We are going to apply it to the other ones they've actually all had plant tone this year, but I'm gonna give some extra to these sprinters so that hopefully they bounce quicker. When you can just use your shoe. Just roughing it into the soil here around the plants. All right, so those should be good to go at this point. I do plan on giving them more plant tone when I prune later on this season, and I do make sure to keep it away from the Russian sage. That does not want any fertilizer. In fact, Russian sage, if it gets too much fertilizer, they tend to flop. Either that, or if they don't get enough sun, or if they're getting too much water. So the only drip line we have in this area is right around the base of the boxwoods, and there's one more just slightly in from those so that we could plant annuals, which at this point, you know, there's space enough to where I could do that. The boxwoods were encroaching so big that I hadn't planned on it. I'll see if I can rustle something up to put in here. But honestly, the Russian sage, I have been so happy with this plant here. This is the denim and lace variety. It stays more compact. It looks gorgeous pretty much all season. I mean, it comes up, it's a very pleasant looking plant right now, very clean and tidy. And then you can see that at this point, it's starting to form up some buds here, and then it will start blooming probably in a couple weeks time, and it blooms for the rest of the season. It looks beautiful. It's one of my favorite go-to sun-loving, crappy soil-loving, performing plants that you don't have to fuss with. Love those. All right, we are gonna head to the west side. All I'm gonna do over there is just tighten up the sides of the hedge because some of the branches are kind of laying in toward the driveway. And then I've got some geraniums I wanna repot. It's kind of the goal for today. Over here on the west side, the only thing I was really gonna focus on, you know, like I just said, are these branches that kind of have come shooting toward the driveway. But I don't know, I feel like these are looking fairly woolly on the top. We'll see when I get into it. I do want to show you one plant that's just amazing right up here. Look at this hollyhock, you guys. This is an original. This belonged in the flower bed when we moved in. I mean, it probably seeded itself from others that were in here, but our fence, maybe we can flash back. Our fence was right here. So there was a big bank of hollyhocks planted right in here along the inside of the fence, and they were starting to grow kind of in the gravel driveway, which was right here. And this plant has been through so much. It has no water running to it. Of course, this year with the amount of rain we've had, it just looks amazing. But even last year without the rain, it looked awesome. But it's been through excavation, bulldozers, excavators. I mean, it's just, and it lives on. It's amazing. And of all the colors that could come back here, because it's a menagerie of colors that was here. I mean, yellow and red and pink, dark pink and light pink and kind of a creamy color. I'm so happy it was this one. I just love it so much. A whole bunch of them seeded themselves up here too. And just like we had the rock path put in this flower bed, you know, we just planted it up with hostas and things and started working on actually, you know, putting things in that flower bed. We're going to do much the same in this one. We're not going to put a great big rock pathway through here, but we're going to do a little one and a little seating area around the fountain. It's going to be so fun. And this flower bed I do intend on making bigger still, but that's for another day. Just wanted to show you all of the hollyhocks in here, and I just love the feel that it gives this area. I mean, you could go really formal here, but I feel like with the kind of old farmhouse porch and all of that, the hollyhocks are just perfect. Okay guys, more hedging, and then we'll be done until fall with the pruners, the hedgers, the hedge shears. What do you call these? Hedgers? Trimmers? Whatever. All right guys, we're done on the west side for now. I ended up taking off quite a bit more. It turned into a bigger project than I had intended it to be, but I didn't realize how much growth they had put on since I trimmed them before. Like, these have already been trimmed this year, and I was able to take off quite a bit. I just thought as I got into it, we're gonna end up in the same exact situation that we just came from, with these big flopping over plants if I don't really trim these hard, which means I did expose quite a bit of rough looking stuff, especially in the backside. Thankfully it's on the backside and not much on the front side where we see them the most. Like, from a backed up view, they look pretty darn good. Like, I'm really happy with the structure, really happy. They were actually less damaged as you go further that way. Right here, like on these swoops right here, the land does go down a little bit, so I usually have to keep those boxwoods a little bit higher to keep them level with these, but I couldn't help on this one. I had to take it down further because I think this is where they were the most splayed out. You can see like holes in them right here, and I mean, they were just like bending out really, really far, so I just clipped all of it off. You can see on the back side here, this is what I was trying to avoid doing all along, was taking them down to all that spider mite damage, but I think it just had to be done. They need to flush out and hopefully branch better, and I don't know if it's a losing battle. Like, let me show you the winter gems. They're just like a few steps away. So you've got the sprinters here. These are a pleasure to trim. Like, they're so fast to trim because they just maintain this really nice network of branches. And I mean, I've trimmed these the same exact way as all the other ones. These we planted last year, so you can see what I do in the training years. You know, I top them, I slick them up on the sides. So yeah, that's how these have been treated. I mean, because these started out smaller than those actually. So it's just weird, you know, that far apart, that we have such differences. I did do some pruning on the sprinters on this side too. I took them down a little bit further than, again, I really wanted to, because I didn't want to expose that damage from before, but they did shape up pretty nicely. And the ones on the very end, I think we planted those last year to finish the hedge right here. So I took after these pretty hard. Like, I cut them in half size wise, and I thought, you know what, this is going to be a really interesting trial. Because I took them down so much, I'm hoping that it starts the branching further down in the plant, so it'll be kind of an experiment. It'll just take them forever to get up bigger, and we'll just have to pray that we don't get spider mites like we did before. Also, I think we have some kind of weather coming our way. Maybe more rain. I'm overall really happy with how these came out though. They just look a lot tidier, kind of like the ones we just came from. They just give the whole area a cleaner appearance, and the reason I feel like the whole cottage vibe works over here, you know, with all the overflowing plants on the other side, is because there's so much structure here and there's a place to rest the eye, some weight. Otherwise it would look like way too much going on. These boxwoods right here were planted after the fact because I thought I was gonna stop the whole formation right here. I'm not sure why, I would have stopped it there, but I did. And then we ended up planting those later on, but they'll catch up eventually. Those are looking really good right now. And then I just did a very light trim on the cones. You know, we've got one on either side of the swoop. This is the variety called Green Mountain. And honestly, these have been one of the best ones for color in the winter. They don't get as brilliant like the new growth that's bright green. It turns into this deep green, which is really pretty. They don't maintain like that bright glossy look, but they don't bronze in the wintertime. And my experience so far is the sprinters have bronzed the worst, and then the winter gems, and then the Green Mountains just kind of stay true. They're just kind of a dark green. Going back through, I always see spots I could trim a little bit more off of. And this is why I am not a hairstylist. I have to trim a little bit more on every side until you'd end up with no hair. Gotta know when to call it quits. I'm just so thankful we had a chance to do this. It looks so much better. I do intend on coming through with Plantone later, but I'm gonna go get those geraniums that I wanted to repot before whatever weather this is arrives. So hopefully we can get that project done. Oh, look at that on our way. Aren't those gorgeous? Here they are. There are 10 red geraniums. The variety name is Boldly Dark Red, right? Yes. For the size of container that these are in, I feel like they're pretty impressive. The size of the plant, how many blooms they have. We're going to be repotting all 10 of these into terracotta containers, and I set up right here because we do have well, I may not even use the hose out here, but I wanted to contain all the mess out here, and then we're going to arrange them into the Hartley. I know some of you guys might be surprised that I want to pot up red flowers, but a couple of reasons. One, they are leftovers from our project down at our local community college. We planted a bunch of these, but I like to always have a few extra plants on hand just in case something happens. You know, when you plant tons of things in a project, you're likely to lose a few. Either, you know, something's not getting enough drip. In our case this year, a couple of geraniums and a couple of white super petunias were stolen. They're just gone. And it happened the first weekend they were planted. So I think we got those replaced. I think now we're late enough in the season to where that's probably not going to happen. But I will still have these. Should anything happen to the geraniums down there, we can pop these out and take them down. And the second reason is that geraniums are so easy to overwinter. And if you have a warmer spot where you're overwintering them in the sun, like a sunny windowsill, or like in this case in the greenhouse, they typically will bloom through the entire winter season. If I can have some red blooms like this at Christmas time, I think there would be something so magical about that. And it would be nice to have another option for a Christmas plant. You know, we've done caladiums, of course, poinsettias and amaryllis, but geraniums are easier than all of those things. To me anyway. So these have been getting a little bit of overhead water in the high tunnel because that's just how we have to do it to be quick. So I'm not going to really do anything. There's not much I can do to clean that off, but eventually, you know, these things will push a whole bunch more new leaves and kind of cover those up. Look at the size of this one flower. I know this one probably needs to be deadheaded, but that's just huge and impressive. But I'm guessing I'm going to have to do a little bit of grooming, a few little yellow leaves at the bottom. I'm going to be using the organic potting mix right here. Right there. And that's it. This process is super easy. So I'm going to get these all repotted and then we will haul them all into the greenhouse. They are so pretty. I had to show you before we move them into the Hartley just how pretty they make the back of the gator look. Oh my goodness, I love it. It's gonna work out perfectly because I've got a lot of purple around the Hartley this year, and purple and red look real pretty together. Oh, they turned out perfect. Look at them all grouped together on that table. They are so pretty. I did have to pop a couple onto the brick ledge, and then I popped one by the sink to add a little bright spot there. You can see one of the coral color geraniums there, and the other two are on that table on the other side. And Benjamin is going to be so pleased when he sees that I used the plant stand he built. And it was perfect, actually. Gave the correct elevation there. Really, really fun. And I'm not sure that things look very much different from the last time we were in here. I think that may have been when we moved these in, maybe? The Lonicera topiaries, which grow like crazy. I have to trim them all the time. And everything's kind of the same over here. We still have our amaryllis and ivy container from Christmas time, and the ivy's kind of taking over, loving its life. We have pulled the shades on both sides, and I'm so thankful for those, and thankful for the fans. The windows are open almost all the time except for last night, and we usually have all the doors open as well. It got down to 41 last night, so I did close everything up, even though like the most tender of things are already planted outside, the sweet potato vines. And everything fared just fine. Tonight's supposed to be 43, so I'll probably leave everything open tonight. But we have not turned on the air conditioner in here. We're just using natural airflow in the fans and these shades to keep the temperature manageable. Now, we've only been into the low 90s yet this summer so far, and it's been so cool, and whatever was coming our way, I think skirted around us. We could see it over in the corner that way, and I think it's moving. You can see the sky over there. I think it's moving just on the edge of where we're at. Maybe. It looks like there's a little bit of dark over there. Either way, it's bringing in cool temperatures, which I welcome. Once it gets into the high 90s, we'll probably shut the windows and doors up and maybe turn the air conditioner off. Kind of just depends. You know, as long as it's breezy and we have the shades pulled, it's pretty doable in here, and I haven't had to move much around yet. I've noticed that this begonia is getting a little bit sun faded. There's one leaf that looks like it got a little scorched. That was prior to pulling the shades on this side, so now these are in the shade more in the afternoon, so it should be fine. But other than that, everything's been doing pretty good in here. So I will water these probably a couple of times a week in here when it's warm. In the wintertime, I do like once a week or so. And that's how the salmon coral colored ones have been treated, and they're doing great. And they've been pretty much in bloom since I pulled them out of the window box on the chicken coop last fall. So they've been really good performers. Lots of nice color. I'll give you a quick view from outside. Hopefully the reflection isn't too bad. So you can see that red. Artichokes are doing real well. And you can definitely see the one by the sink. How fun is that? And you guys, that is gonna do it for today. So happy we got the Boxwoods done, especially. Oh, that's just such a weight lifted, because you know, if you don't get them done within the right time period, weather-wise, you know, you have to look at them woolly the entire season, which is not a big deal, but it is nice when they look nice and tidy. It just gives everything, for me, it gives everything like a peaceful look. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.